Hi, folks. You're with Tassus today. Tassus Day, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Gee, I've got the coughs today. It was a really hot day yesterday, and today's quite a cool day by comparison. So I wanted to talk about in this essay about smear campaigns and their structure and how they're delivered. Now, we're not, none of this is new. I guess we've got a real divide in the media now where anybody who supports globalization is not smeared, they're revered. Anyone that questions or speaks out against globalization is a target for smearing. So the smearing is very, very one direction, and the entire media establishment exists to suppress, and the globalist controlled flunky governments in the West to suppress any who question or oppose or see the harm that globalization is causing to the West. So now there's one a smear job done against a particular politician. It was very stark, I think, in the relief sort of was very obvious how they were going about it. So I just wanted to make a quick mention of it. Now, this politician was in favour of reducing or having only a skills-based migration system. So that absolutely that drives the globalists into an absolute fit of rage. Just that alone, nothing wrong with it, of course, but they don't like it. It gets in the way of their program. This politician also thought that activist NGOs could not also be charities. They either engage in charity work, in which case they could be tax exempt, but if they engage in activism, then they would lose their tax exempt status. So, and the NGOs it's so expensive for the NGOs to operate in this area that they kind of don't bother so much. It's just very expensive. So there's far fewer activist NGOs in this area, and the better for it. There's far more social peace and harmony because the activist NGOs are a very central part of stirring up, race conflict, gender conflict, these sorts of things. So, so without them, there's a lot more social peace and harmony and so on. As indeed there's more social peace and harmony if a skills-based migration system exists, because people arriving for skills, they tend to integrate very quickly. Whereas people arriving for, as freeloaders and so on, they don't integrate. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 generations on, they're not integrating. Even if they're not directly freeloaders, they've come to set up a separate culture within your culture, a parallel culture, and that's still no good. So, and also this politician was going through the activists that come to the universities to teach things like, black studies and gender studies and gay studies and so on. This politician said, well, if you want to study that, fine, but it won't be with any subsidies or any government handouts. You'll pay full tote for those courses if you choose them. But if you want to study, engineering or any needed skill course, then or science course, then we can do it. Also, the government wouldn't allow affirmative action type hiring and things like that. They wanted to keep a merit-based system. So because of that, this politician was roundly hated by the globalists, not because they were doing bad things, but because they were preventing the entry points, if you like, that the globalists use to get their poisonous tentacles into Western society, and for this reason. So so they're doing a smear job on this particular politician. The politician's done nothing wrong. They're doing a smear job on it. They haven't broken the law or something. So it goes like this. Now the news outlet that was leading the charge on the smear job, they are funded by an activist NGO group, and the researchers and reporters were all from an activist LGBTQ group, and the reporter doing the anchor and reading the script was also a very well-known activist homosexual guy. Now, I don't mind if they want to do a smear job on somebody. Well, fine, But we are an activist LGBTQ. We're funded by activists, including George Soros, and we'll get to that. And I'm also an activist with many years of activism in the LGBTQ space. And I was, student union president of the gay lesbian student union, and so if they were open about where they were coming from, but instead they don't. They pitch themselves as, we're honest brokers of the truth. We don't have skin in the game in either direction. We're above all that. We're just telling you the truth as it is. We're just giving you the facts, when it couldn't be further from the truth. They're telling the most outrageous lies and insinuations and so on. And so, just looking at their reporting on this politician, now I'll call the politician X, but I actually know that one. So I call the politician Billy Bob. There you go, Billy Bob. So. Billy Bob is known to have associations with neo-Nazis, and once attended a forum, attended a seminar where neo-Nazis were presenting. Now, that's a lie. Known associations with, and is believed to, is also friends with far-right Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, who has stayed and is a close confidant of, and so that they try and build this idea of someone who's in knows evil people. So they're giving names. Far right. What does that mean? Suspected neo-Nazis. Once refused to denounce, a neo-Nazi, and so on. So they do these guilt by association things, and things like once met with far right, the Florida governor Ron DeSantis. Once met with. That's actually not true. They were vacationing, and as protocol sort of has it, when a visiting politician of some sort of note was there, they were there was like a cocktail sort of function at the embassy, and DeSantis came in and made a sort of a 2-minute appearance and pressed a bit of flesh and went off again. But that's enough to say, well, there you go. They were in the same room. They were in the same city. They were in the same universe together. So that's it. They're associated. So every attempt at inference, every attempt to smear. I mean, Giorgia Meloni is not far right from Italy. What about these so-called neo-Nazis? There was a far left radical leftist newspaper that claimed that everyone at this fucking seminar was a Nazi, and so they used that. Well, it wasn't us that said it; them. They said it. Therefore, and so they just built this image of, here's a person that hangs out with Nazis. That's all they do. They do nothing to hang out with Nazis, and that's why they're opposed to mass migration. So they try and always draw this thing of if you're opposed to the globalists in any way, a question, then you are a fucking Nazi, fascist. You're Hitler personally. And so they'll always try and gravitate towards it. Now, again, it was a smear piece and so on. And it was preaching to the choir. Anyone with an IQ above 0 could see that it was a smear job. So it's just preaching to the choir that this person, well, they oppose mass migration. Oh, they're against LGBTQ radical activism in universities. Oh, that's it, Nazi. Oh, fuck. But if a Christian organisation just wants to go into the university, then the government should shut them down because they're Nazis, and it's just completely ridiculous. But that's the smear tactics that, and I think we all know. But just looking at the amount of this smearing going on. And I think as we head towards the presidential election, and there's an election coming up in the United Kingdom later on as well, as we head towards the election, I think the smearing and attempting to associate anyone who opposes globalization or any element of globalization that they're all Nazis, I think that's going going to pick up. But again, I wouldn't mind the smidge, Josh, provided these people declared their credentials. Don't pretend to be impartial. Don't claim to be telling the truth and looking at the facts. When you're nothing of the sort, you're a bunch of radical activists smearing people you don't like and don't agree with. You've been fantastic today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.